Jazz music originated just over a century ago, and as such it's getting harder and harder to find direct links to the music's beginnings, which is why I jumped at the opportunity to meet with Mr. Kenneth Dominique. Kenneth was born in 1928 in New Orleans, Louisiana, to Hazel Gruinger and Donald Albert Dominique, aka Don Albert, the famous jazz trumpet player and band leader. Don Albert, also born in New Orleans, was from a sort of musical royal family, which included Natty Dominique and Barney Bigard amongst family members. So the household he grew up in was already very musical. He started playing in New Orleans before moving to Texas in the mid-20s to play with Alphonso Trent and then later Troy Floyd, with whom he made his first records. Then he went on his own and started a band which was also comprised mostly of New Orleans musicians, including on string bass Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson had been a member of Buddy Bolden's band and is actually the bassist pictured in the photograph of the Bolden band. And he made some of his only records with Don Albert's Orchestra for Vocalion in San Antonio. Kenneth knew Jimmy Johnson as a child. He grew up around all the band members, and I learned all of this and more in an interview that I conducted with him back in December of 2019. How that came to happen was I got a call from a couple of my friends in the Dirty River Jazz Band in San Antonio, Chris Alvarado and Chris Vargas. And those guys know that I'm all about Texas music history and jazz music history. And they said, you got to meet this guy. You know, he's a link to the beginning of the music, and he's getting up there in age, but man, it'll change your life if you talk to him. So, of course, I hopped on the opportunity. And after asking him a little bit more and realizing who it was, I knew it was definitely not a waste of time. So we packed in a car and drove down to San Antonio's east side, and we ended up at Kenneth's house, which is over kind of near the Sunset Station. And Jason Saldana and Mike Perez and Mark Cusey and a bunch of other San Antonio jazz stalwarts were there, as well as members of the Dirty River Jazz Band. And we did a little house concert for Kenneth. And one of the first things I asked him when I met him was, can I ask you a bunch of questions? To which he said, of course, after, we all meet and stuff, feel free to ask me as much as you want. And we played a bunch of songs, including one of his favorites, Roses of Picardy, and his dad's theme song, True, which his orchestra and a few other San Antonio groups also recorded. And afterwards, we also listened to some records, including my copy of Shadowland Blues, which featured his dad on trumpet. Then, when everybody left, I began to ask questions. And it was an incredible experience and just an amazing look at life for a young African American in New Orleans in the early 30s and San Antonio in the 30s, and being around those guys and being around Jimmy Johnson and Louis Quatrell Jr. and a bunch of other guys too. It was also amazing just to hear the life that Kenneth lived, and it was such a wonderful experience that I asked him, would it be okay if I came back and asked a little bit more? And he said, of course, I'll give you a call when I'm ready. About 3 weeks later, I get a call from Kenneth, and he says, why don't you come on down and ask whatever you want? Sure thing, we can take the whole afternoon. And I said, well, I've got a concert on this day. Is it okay if I bring some guys in my band down there? And he said, of course. So David Jellema, my cornet teacher, cornet player in Hancock's Jazz Serenaders, and Dave Bedrich, amazing drummer, sort of the co-manager of the Jazz Serenaders, and Johnny Serrano, the banjo player, also sort of a co-manager of the Jazz Serenaders. We packed in my car with all our instruments loaded up literally to the roof of the car for all of us, and drove down. And David brought a camera and a recording device, and we were able to ask a bunch of questions and get it on film. And so I told Kenneth, I'm going to put the video and the audio from these two interviews together and sort of make a little video that's sort of a tribute. And he said, oh man, that's great. I can't wait to see it. Unfortunately, Kenneth passed away on May 30th of 2020, which was a huge shame and a travesty. And it's so hard to believe that so recently we were able to get to interview Kenneth and get to know him and know his life story and the story in a lot of ways of San Antonio jazz back in the day. So I've compiled the video and audio from these interviews for all of you to listen to and enjoy and hear one of these last links to the beginnings of jazz. And I hope you enjoy it.
My name is Kenneth Dominique, originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, where my dad is originally from too, also Don Albert, the musician. I was born in 1928, September the 3rd, and I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana. That's where Don Albert originally come from, and his wife also. So I lived with my grandmother and grandfather till I was about, I'd say 10, maybe 11.
What do you remember from New Orleans back then, and what was it like, and, you know?
Well, like in New Orleans, most of the block were kinfolk, all that.
What neighborhood did you live in?
Pardon?
What neighborhood did you live in?
We lived in the Ninth Ward where the flood hit the worst.
Oh, yeah.
On Miro Street. And, I mean, the kids would get together and do things together. The family would. The kids would go like roller skating, bicycle riding. I played jacks with the girls. We'd play hockey, hide and seek, jump rope, and this was we'd ride together. Everybody on a bicycle. We did all together. Whatever they were doing, we did it together. And the family was a family. Across the street was kinfolk. Around us was kinfolk. So we had the togetherness in Louisiana, which was great.
Yeah. Yeah. Was your family originally Creole?
Yes.
Yeah. So do you remember was there still, when you were growing up, a distinctive separation between the Creoles of color versus, you know, some of the people who lived in like uptown and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, you had that. You had that discrimination pretty bad in New Orleans, but I was surprised when they went over and they started integrating and they went as smooth as they did.
Here in San Antonio?
Because we knew what was going on. We knew we were supposed to be. Yes, we knew where we could go, where we couldn't.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
There was always togetherness, the family.
Speaking of that, your great uncle, right?
Uncle Dominique, Natty Dominique. Yeah, he was a trumpet player. Now, where he played, who he played with, I couldn't tell you because the only thing I know, they lived in Chicago.
Natty Dominique recorded with Jelly Roll Morton and
with
Johnny Dodds, several people. He's a fairly well-known cornet player, fairly significant Chicago cornet player from the 20s, made a lot of records. He's on the second recording session, I believe, Jelly Roll Morton ever did, it's just called Jelly Roll Morton's Jazz Band. It's quality stuff.
When I went to Chicago in 47 to with my dad's sister, and we stayed with my Uncle Natty.
Oh, yeah.
And he worked with the airplanes.
Yeah.
And he come in that morning and he called his wife, Minerva, where the heck am I going to sleep? That boy is 6 feet tall.
You told me last time you're a relative, also a distant relative of Barney Bigard, right?
Barney Bigard was my dad's cousin.
That's right. Did you ever get to meet Barney Bigard?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Barney Bigard, his wife, they come over and they said he came on vacation, stayed there a good while.
Here at this house? Or?
No, at Dad's house.
Oh, where was your dad's house?
That was on St. James, 715 St. James, about 9 blocks from here.
Oh, okay.
Dad and them, I had pictures of them where they meet them at the airport when they come in. And I met him. Well, I know him. I met him. I knew him.
Did you ever get to hear him play?
No.
Not really?
No.
Yeah. No. I can't imagine he would have been playing it.
I never did.
But he was...
Dad didn't bring his horn out, and Bonnie didn't, play or nothing.
It was more just about family, huh?
Yeah, family deal, get together and whatnot.
Yeah. But was he a nice guy? Like...
Oh, yeah. He and his wife, they were down to earth people.
Uh-huh.
And he talked to anybody,
Yeah.
And then he made that song popular, Mood Indigo.
Oh, yeah.
That was for Duke.
Yeah.
He made Mood Indigo.
Oh.
And I got pictures. It's one of Duke's bands where he's in it.
Yeah.
In one of their books.
Yeah. Do you recall seeing any music when you were in New Orleans at all? I mean, you were only a child, so.
Yeah.
I mean, were there still, like parades a lot?
What
and
had
stuff?
the parade? Well, Mardi Gras Day, some of the people at mass would pass in front of the house.
Uh-huh.
The kids, the family would fix the kids a brown bag with some food in it,
Mm-hmm.
donuts, sandwich,
Uh-huh.
and let them go out. And you just walk and you look at everything, the parades, and you had your food with you, so
Yeah.
you didn't have to go back at a certain time.
A lot of people, when they were interviewed, 20 or 30 years ago, talking about New Orleans back then, they would say that there was music almost everywhere, basically, back
Just about.
then. Yeah.
And when the fights was on, like Joe Lewis, Brown Bummer, if you're walking down the street, everybody had the radio blasting loud. You could tell what was going on. And, well, I even mastered, my grandpa used to dress me up in different kind of costumes.
Yeah.
And you go out, you're on your own, and you enjoy it. And then they have a parade, Mardi Gras Day, they have several parades. At night you had the parades, and then they throw these beads from the float. And a lot of you fellas riding on the float, they didn't have no women on the float. And they all wore the same kind of mask, the hard mask.
Yeah.
So you couldn't tell who's who, and they'd be half dark and they'd be side looking.
Yeah.
And when they get off the floats, half of them would passed out.
Were you sad to leave New Orleans when you moved, or was it kind of exciting?
No, it was a different type of life. Yeah, I mean, once I moved from there, I got away from that way of living to the living over here.
What was the biggest difference?
Work.
Work. Yeah. Where in San Antonio did you move when you first came down here?
On Cactus, 420 Cactus Street. That's right down there, Denver Heights.
What was it like back then?
Well, it was just one room deal. At that time, we had a lot of places rented one room to musicians, like when they would come to play that one night stand. I worked and went to school. I went to grammar school on the west side, which was on Leal and Colorado streets. It was a one-room building, for the class, had different classes in one room over it. Well, after I finished that, then I went to Douglas Junior High on Hackberry, on the east side. And in the meantime, I was taking music lessons there under Professor Hines.
On what instrument?
Trumpet, like Dad. I thought that's what I wanted to play. So I was learning that trumpet. Then when I graduated from there, I went to a Catholic school over here, which is called St. Peter Claver, but it's Healy Murphy now. And they offered only piano and violin. I said, that isn't for me, that's for girls. It's sissy stuff. At that time, you said, sissy. If you had a funny haircut, you got teased. And then I graduated from there. But I was still working in the keel. When he opened in 1942, I was behind the bar. And Dad never did call me Kenneth, my first name. He was always either governor or count. And this is how you refer to a lot of people. Governor, count, So we didn't have no communication as far as that's concerned.
Right.
I bet a lot of people didn't, by working like I did, I didn't get around too much. I didn't go to parties that they invite me to go to, the school parties that quit inviting me because I never attended them. I was working.
Right.
And that's what I kind of contribute to longevity. I got off one night. They let me get off. I got in the car and I went up Pine Street and I didn't know where to go. I ended up going back to Keyhole and selling at the table. Because where am I going to go? They quit inviting me to parties because I wasn't attending it. So where am I going to go? I don't know what to do with myself. And I'm back at the Keyhole and listening to the band. I worked all my life as going to high school. building the floor at the keyhole, working behind the bar.
You were telling me last time you moved back to New Orleans at one point, right? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Shoot. No, I didn't. I haven't been back. I've been 2 years. I went back to New Orleans when the
Right.
polio epidemic broke out here.
Oh, polio. Oh, because
I
of
drove
polio.
a '36 Ford from here to New Orleans. I had my dad's dad in there, Amos Milburn, who was a singer from. I think he was from Houston.
Yeah.
My cousin. We were loaded in that '36 Ford, and at that time you had the little narrow highway, so you had to be careful. If you got too far over, you were off the shoulder and you were stuck. So I got sleepy. Some of that, what you call it, this fella drive. So he was driving okay, and then all of a sudden he went over like that. The Greyhound bus coming the other way, so he moved over too far to the right, and we ended up in the ditch. All four wheels. And it took us 20 hours to get to New Orleans. So
Was it on a lot of dirt roads back then?
that's what it is. In Louisiana, you have that shell like off the side, but it's lower than the regular highway, so you get stuck into that.
What year? You don't know what year that was.
I'd have to go way back try to figure it out now. I can't go that far back.
Yeah.
Probably have to look up when the.
Probably late 40s though. If you had Amos Milburn with you.
Yeah, Amos Milburn. We had to pick him up. We took him back to Houston in the '36 Ford.
Wow.
Well, I know when he came down here as a kid, 17 years old, that's when he joined this band Troy Floyd, and it's up in Mountaintop Lake.
Do you remember much from the Shadowland at all?
I know I was a youngster then, and no, out there we used to have to fight the rats. They were so big, they looked like coons.
Oh, really?
We'd arm ourselves here at a place. We stayed in the building, and we'd have to arm ourselves with brooms and whatnot.
Oh, man.
And then at night, my cousin would sit up in the kitchen, and he had a little light shining over there, and he'd shoot it with a 22 spray. And you'd hear, well, Lester got one.
Was the Shadowland like out? It was out in the country, right?
Country, definitely country.
Was it?
You had great big water cisterns that you catch water.
Oh,
and you had the 2x6s, up front. And when we lived out there at Shadowland, that was in the country.
Yeah, on the west side, right?
Oh, that was whatever the famous store I'm thinking about, close to Randolph. I got pictures of Lloyd when he was here.
I saw him.
No. Joe Lewis. Joe Lewis, the brown
Oh
one.
yeah, Joe Lewis. Yeah.
I got pictures of him in the cowboy outfit roping the cab. You know you didn't know nothing about the cab.
Yeah.
And I got with Lloyd. He's looking in the sun.
Yeah.
And he's looking like that. That's a bazooka.
Trombone with a beat. Look at that picture there, and don't look at the very bottom. Just look at the picture front. Can you tell me who that is? That's Macy.
Yeah. That's Dad in the corner. The last time he was here. And that's inside the keyhole on the west side right there, the border. And all of it remained the same. They kept that mirror behind it too.
Is this you? That's where I found this record, in Victoria.
Victoria?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Now that's him when he was a little baby.
The Don? Your
That's
dad?
Ages. That's my cousin that lives in Victoria. There's a fellow named, the singer that was with Dad's band at one time, Joe Turner.
Did your dad ever talk about this band at all?
We didn't do much talking because, like I say, he worked at Kelly. I worked behind the boiler. We were constantly working. We didn't really communicate that much. And he never did call me son.
Not really.
Governor, come.
Count. So
I remember when the drummers used to come with their drums, and they set up, and they have those wooden things mounted on the front of, what they call them, and they cluck, cluck, cluck.
the blocks.
Yeah. So, but this is so good to hear that.
That's your dad, man.
This Christmas is great. This is the best Christmas I had in a long time.
You know, I found some. I was doing some digging on records that your dad made back in the 20s, and I found out in addition to the Troy Floyd records, he accompanied some blues singers for Brunswick, up in Dallas.
I know, I've heard of Brunswick.
The Brunswick label, yeah, because they're rare records. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never seen a copy. I just found an audio file of it. This is called Bye Bye Baby.
That's gone. Oh, yeah. With the mute. That's the mute. Originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, where my dad is originally from too, also. Don Albert, the musician, that traveled all over the United States with his big band, Canada and Mexico. So he's been around the world. He started, I wasn't born yet, I was born a year after. I was born in 1928. He did end up going back to New Orleans because he wanted to get his own band. And he did form a band, and he had a small Greyhound bus that they traveled in. And he got the musicians from New Orleans, some from, like Herb Hall was a clarinet player, got him from some little town, not Lafayette, but one of them, the Louisiana town. He had Alvin Alcorn, the trumpet player. Those are the ones I know were from Louisiana.
Yeah.
That I knew. When they went to play in Mississippi, the band,
When was that?
way back, I don't know what year, they went there, and Fats Martin, he's in that picture up there, he's quit nosing, so he's going around the building where they were going to play. He opened the door, he found all that stuff for the Ku Klux Klan in it.
Oh, shoot.
He went back, called Dad. They called him old man, but Dad was younger than all of them. Called him over and said, "Oh man, we can't play."
You know, Fats Martin is in this picture. And that one up there.
If who's in here?
Fats Martin.
What the hell is Fats?
It says it on the bottom in the text.
Yeah, there he is, down there on the bottom, next to Jack Head.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the trumpet player on the left, and in the middle is Johnson, the bass player.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit more about Johnson? I mean, did you ever get to talk to him?
He was kind of standoffish, I guess. Maybe I was too young. I don't know. Johnson, old man Johnson, played the bass, the old bass, big bass.
Oh, the string bass. Yeah.
String bass.
Yeah. What did he sound like when he played?
Like a bass player.
Just like any other bass player?
Well, to me, it was.
Yeah. Did he use the bow ever?
No.
No, he would just.
No, I don't think he used the bow.
Huh. From what you remember when you saw him, he was mainly more of just a regular.
Yeah, just a regular. And Dad had one bass player, would call him Chippy. I don't know where the name come from. And his fingers were real, corns, but real thick. The tip ends of the fingers from flicking the bass. Yeah. I guess that's where it's from. And I don't know his name. Yeah. I don't know how long he played with the band.
That would have been after Jimmy Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, they made quite a few changes throughout the years.
When the Don Albert Orchestra that recorded for Vocalion came to San Antonio, was that originally that group from New Orleans and they came to San Antonio? I see. So that must be why Jimmy Johnson, Mr. Johnson, came to San Antonio, was because he was with your dad.
Yeah, old man Jimmy Johnson. Yeah, I knew him.
So I found a recording of Old Man Johnson. I found some with your dad that he's on, but I also found one of him from 1937, I believe, with a group called the KXYZ Novelty Band. I'm not going to play the whole record, but I'll just play the first part because you can hear him slapping away.
Yeah, okay.
So check this out. You are probably the last person living who knew anyone in Buddy Bolden's band.
Is that right?
Yeah, and that's pretty remarkable.
Well, yeah. It's remarkable that I'm still around. That's the greatest thing.
Well, yeah, man. Thank the Lord,
Shoot and how, man. Every day I wake up thanking Jesus.
Wow.
Don Albert and his swing band.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't use Dominique.
No.
Because the name was too long.
Yeah.
So he cut it short.
Don Albert, yeah.
And everybody knew it Don Albert.
I wondered about that. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people say, well, my name is Dominique and he's Don Albert. That's the story. You had to give up the last name in order when he's traveling.
Do you remember what your dad's big band sounded like at all in person? Yeah. Can you describe it?
I don't know how you describe music. It was music then. It isn't like stuff you hear now that declared as music. And I make a statement to everyone, if you can't pat your foot to it, it isn't music. And which is right. You have to have rhythm. You have to do something, but the stuff they play now, they forget it. Now, I couldn't give you more information about the band because they were traveling and I was stationed there. My grandmother and grandfather or whatever, till Dad finally moved down there permanently. And then I've been here ever since that.
Yeah.
If you notice, Dad's members were always dressed up. They always had uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
But the shoes would never shine.
Yeah.
But he had to give the band up because it was getting hard in the time running. When he gave it up in 1937, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 37, I believe. He had to give it up. And then after he gave it up, the big bands was coming back because they had dwindled down. It wasn't a big band deal anymore. It was trios and things like that.
Right.
So, but he never did get back into it. But he did sell here in San Antonio.
He'd sit in different places, and he'd carry his piece with him all the time.
Right.
And wherever there was music being played, he'd sit in with the band. And like Jim Cullen,
Yeah.
Senior, they opened up the Hemisphere. They had a battle of the bands, Senior and Dad. And then later on, got to meet Junior, and he had played a lot. Dad played with him different places. So they got to know Jim Cullen, both Cullens. And at first they didn't want Dad's band to play in the Hemisphere because it's still segregation. Senior and Henry B. and then fought the city in order to get Dad's band to play in the Hemisphere. So it was the battle of the bands. I don't know who won, but I think they broke out even. So everything worked out okay, from that standpoint.
So you got to meet Louis Armstrong, right?
Yeah, we have.
What was he like?
Down on his cat.
Really?
Yeah, and he said everything was cat. That was his word vocabulary.
Cat?
Cat, C-A-T, cat.
And that's how he met everybody. And I have a picture of him. He's standing up, he's looking out in the sunset somewhere. I don't know what the hell he's looking at, but and it was kind of quiet. He didn't talk too much. And I wasn't around him long enough for me to know whether he talked about it or not.
Did you get to see him play?
No.
No.
No,
You were
didn't
working.
see him play. Only in the movie.
Only in movies.
Yeah, that movie that he shot with the horse and race horse. And
Oh, Jeepers Creepers. Yeah.
That's the only time.
Was it a big deal when he came down to San Antonio?
Yes, it
They
was.
treat him like royalty.
Yeah, you better know it did.
Yeah.
Yep.
After that, he worked out at Kelly Air Force Base, and he got a job. Well, first he delivered mail. He was a mailman, but he was airmail, which was separate from the man walking with the mail. And he did that for a while, and he also, when he opened the keyhole, he still was doing that for a while until he quit the post office and then went to Kelly. And he was at Kelly when he opened the keyhole. And that day the FBI came over to Dad's house, two fellas. They rang the bell and they ran on the side, by the side gate. So Dad went out and he said, can I help you? I said, yeah. So we want to know where's that white lady that lived with the colored people. Dad said, wait a minute, I'll go get her. He come out with a shotgun. He said, you better get the hell off my property or you ain't gonna be able to get off it. Now as Dutch was lighter than Dad, but Dad, you couldn't tell the difference looking at him, no.
Yeah. I just enjoy listening to him play all the time because he practiced at the house, and then we had a place he bought on the down in Aransas Pass.
Oh, on the ocean.
We had a house trailer down there, so we go fishing. He come and take a shower, toot his horn a while, and then go to sleep.
Did your dad have a favorite song or a song you always liked to
Roses
play?
of Piccadilly.
Roses of Piccadilly.
That was one of his main ones.
He played, but the theme song was two titles. You Don't Love Me and Truth.
True. Yeah,
I
yeah,
had two titles.
yeah.
I'm just crazy over you. What more can I do? You don't love me. Say, I had it all planned out someday for things to come my way, but you don't love me. Everybody knows I